uh, mutual funds. So let's start on portfolio management services. So what we will be talking is we'll be talking on the concept of PMS, again mutual fund and PMS difference, who is a portfolio manager or who can be a portfolio manager, how it is regulated in India, how somebody can invest in the portfolio PMS in India, best PMS, the investment strategy. So in portfolio management services, the essential part is the investment strategy of the portfolio manager. So a lot depends on what the portfolio manager thinks, what is his gut feeling, what is his confidence on a particular thing, and it depends on the portfolio manager's thought process, investment philosophy and strategy based on which a return would come. See friends, every investment strategy or every investment vehicle, we invest into a particular stock or into a particular investment methodology. We just invest with the objective of getting returns. Okay, so our objective of investment is as simple as getting returns. We should get better returns. So be it stocks, be it mutual funds, be it insurance, be it anything, the core objective of investment is getting some returns vis-a-vis the risk we are taking. So if I am open to take higher risk, I always expect a higher return, and on the other end it is similar. So the portfolio manager's strategy and the portfolio manager's thought process is the key of return in a PMS, and PMSs can go bad very poorly. Okay, so we have seen a lot of PMS which give negative 30, 40, 50% returns, and a lot of PMSs have also closed shops when the markets go down because of a wrong decision by the portfolio manager. Now what is portfolio management services? So see, basically when we talk of the investment stack, okay, so if I say I have 500 rupees to invest, where should I invest every month? Somebody would say, boss, go to a post office, open a recurring deposit, or go to a bank and open a recurring deposit, or invest into the mutual fund via SIP. But when we talk of HNI means high net worth investors. So the investors who have a higher net worth, which means my worth is of around 1 crore rupees, or I have a net worth of 5 crore rupees, or even 1 crore rupees, or even 50 lakhs or something. So when I have this surplus funds, when I have a surplus amount to invest, I am an HNI. And when I have 1 crores to invest, I would obviously invest into multiple investment options. So I would invest into mutual funds, I would invest into stocks, I would invest into the post office, I may have some fixed deposits, I may buy some real estate, I would have given a loan at 12-15% to some relatives, into some businesses, and the objective is only to get better returns. But there is a risk for HNIs that if they do a wrong investment, then they may lose a lot amount of money, because the value of money they're investing is higher. So there comes the portfolio management services, right? So PMS, the minimum amount you need to invest is around 25 lakh rupees. Okay, so the minimum ticket size of investment into a PMS is 25 lakh. This is notified by SEBI, and in the current scenario there are also talks that this will go up to 50 lakhs. So if you want to invest into a portfolio management service, or if you want a PMS or a portfolio manager to manage your fund, the minimum funds as an investor you need to commit is 25 lakhs at this point of time. And as I'm talking, there are high chances of this going up to 50 lakhs in the near future. So the PMS industry is pushing to take it up to on the higher side. So there are less competition in that level. What does a portfolio mean? As per SEBI, it basically, SEBI is Securities and Exchange Board of India. it's the total holding of securities belonging to any person. So let's say for securities mean stocks, bonds, any investments. Okay, so if I have 100 HDFC, 200 ICICI, 1000 Yes Bank, a total of everything is called a portfolio, right? I hope I've addressed it. Now what is a portfolio manager? So somebody who manages, okay, somebody who manages my investments into various asset classes. Okay, somebody or someone who manages my investments into various asset classes. Asset class means it can be equity, it can be debt, it can be gold, it can be real estate, it can be commodity, it can be power, it can be crude, it can be any of the asset class. So an individual or somebody who manages various asset classes with the only objective of getting better returns for the client is called a portfolio manager. Okay, we all know, who a manager is, somebody who manages. So portfolio manager is somebody who manages your portfolio, and who manages somebody's wealth. And it's a difficult task, because you have to manage a wealth of somebody, and somebody is giving you 25, 30, 50 lakh rupees with a lot of trust and with a lot of expectations from you that you will give some return. So that's a portfolio manager. And as I said, assets include all these things. There are around 250 plus portfolio managers registered in India. With SEBI, there are many other who are unregistered and who are still running this service. So key point is, this is for HNI investors who have large chunk of money, and PMS is very helpful to them. See, mutual funds is not going to leave us, okay, because mutual fund is the basic concept, and this is extrapolation of it. So mutual funds, we do it for 500, minimum investment of 500, and here it is 25 lakh rupees. Here we do it as a pool of investors. Here is for individual investors or a small set of investors. Mutual funds are structured based on the investment objective. So if my investment objective is infrastructure, I will be restricted to infrastructure. But here, it's completely tailor-made. I can invest anywhere and everywhere. Here, whatever stocks is been invested by the portfolio manager or the portfolio management services remain in the demat account. It is the depository participant, which is remain in the demat account of the investor himself. So if I am an investor and you are my portfolio manager, if you have all the securities in which you have invested on my behalf, they all remain in my demat account. Okay, they are all in my demat account, and I can see you on my behalf as a portfolio manager or a portfolio management service is managing my portfolio. So but the ownership of the portfolio remains to the investor, wherein in the mutual funds all the stocks are with the depository of the mutual fund company and not with the investor. The investor has the units or the money which he has invested. We all know, I just discussed, you need a minimum of 25 lakhs to invest into a PMS. You can start it with a amount of 500. A PMS, there is a high level of customization based on the investor's requirement. So if an investor says, I want to invest into infrastructure and education together, he can invest, but in a mutual fund that is not possible. Most of the mutual fund portfolio or the diversified schemes have more than 50 stocks. We just saw, HDFC top 100, so many stocks. They have been invested in 35 to 40 stocks or 70 stocks, wherein the PMS is focused on a very limited number of stocks. But the portfolio managers identify the stocks in a manner that this 15 to 25 stocks will give 10 times better return than the 50 stock portfolio. We will discuss in detail about this going forward. And then the PMS has the complete flexibility of weighted to single stocks. Like in mutual funds there is a cap, so let's say even they invest into 50 companies or 50 stocks, they cannot have an exposure more than 10% into a particular stock. So let's say for instance you're just looking at the index fund or anything, or a mutual fund equity scheme, let's say Sundaram Mid Cap Fund. So Sundaram Mid Cap Fund can invest into 60 or 70 different stocks, but out of the 60-70 stocks, the maximum can invest in one stock is 10%. So it cannot invest more than 10% in one stock. That's the rule, or that's the regulation which a mutual fund company has to follow. But when it comes to a PMS, it is completely on the portfolio manager. If out of the 10 stocks which they have invested 80% of the amount in 5 stocks and another 20% in another 5 stocks. It is completely open, and it is on the PMS and the client, which is portfolio manager, and the client to take a call on how and when they can manage this. Then as we said, it's for retail. Mutual funds are for retail investors, and this is for a very niche level of investors, wherein they only the people which are high net worth investors can invest into the PMS. Wherein if we talk of the mutual funds, anybody and everybody can invest into the mutual fund. So these are some basic differences, conceptual differences between PMS and mutual fund, which we should be aware of. Now coming to the regulation of portfolio management services. So the PMS in India have recently started growing in the last 2 to 3 years. Okay, and it has started becoming very popular in the last couple of years. So SEBI have come up with a specific act, or SEBI's have a specific act called Securities and Exchange Board of India Portfolio Managers Regulations 2020. So in 2020, this year itself, it has updated the entire portfolio managers regulations. So what does this entire act do? Okay, so the SEBI PMS regulations, they define what a portfolio is, they define who is a portfolio manager, they define who is a client, and clearly specifies the differences in all the three. It also in detail lays out the procedure to register oneself as a portfolio manager. So if you want to run a portfolio management service in India, your portfolio manager has to be registered with SEBI. So there is a long process of at least you have to fill 15 to 20 forms. You have to update themselves about your education. So there are several criteria to become a portfolio manager as per SEBI. You need to be a graduate, you need to have a particular education background, you need to have a certain experience into portfolio management or equity exposure in the last couple of last 2 to 3 years. You should disclose them about your activities in the last 2 to 3 years. You should have a minimum net worth of 25 lakhs and above for your to start 5 crores. I'm sorry, to have a PMS thing. And once you apply with the Stock Exchange or Securities Exchange Board of India, the SEBI would look into everything, and based on the criteria, if they find fit, then only they would register you as a portfolio manager. And only those registered portfolio managers by SEBI can work in India as PMS services. The another important aspect which the SEBI Portfolio Manager Regulation 2020 talks about is about the client and the relationship between a portfolio manager and the client. So it very clearly states that how. So see, these are privately managed funds. So when we say portfolio management service, they're kind of privately managed funds. for some individuals. Okay, so for me, if I am your portfolio manager, I am privately managing your funds. So there has to be complete clarity and transparency on the way I will be managing your funds between you and me. At least there are no other regulations on what is the investment philosophy I need to follow, what are the various caps I need to follow. But yes, we need to be very specific and clear on what all things we need to have between me and my client. So it has a lot of things on details which have to be included in the client and a portfolio manager's agreement. So the amount of investment, when you will be putting on the returns, the investment philosophy, the tenure of the relationship as portfolio manager and the client, to make it clear that all the securities bought would be stored in the DP of the client itself, to clear about the charges and the fees which the portfolio manager is going to charge. What if there is a infringement in the contract, or there is a change in the contract, the rules for termination of the contract, everything has to be clearly, or the disclosure of the portfolio or investment strategy of the portfolio whenever the client asks the portfolio manager to update him about the entire process, the portfolio manager should update. So these are a long lasting details which are a part of the client portfolio manager. So this is important for you to understand, because most importantly, a client has a lot of issues on the agreement between the portfolio management service and the client. So client would decide to invest in your portfolio management services looking at the returns and other things, but he would also like to learn about the various parts of the agreement and various clauses of the agreement between the portfolio manager and the client. So this is briefly how it is regulated. SEBI is something who regulates the entire thing, and then the way it follows. Now, what are the benefits of PMS? The very strong benefit is it has a very professional approach. So just imagine some individual or a portfolio manager. He has a very customized and a very specific approach in managing the funds of a certain level. So he has a professional approach in managing a large amount of funds, because if a ticket size is minimum 25 lakh, then he would be managing, even if he manages around 100 customers, it would be 250 crores which he would be managing. So they are very professionally managed. The best part is they are diversified in various asset classes. So you can invest into publicly held companies, you can invest outside the public limited companies like privately held companies, you can invest privately into the startups, or you can invest into real estate properties, you can invest into the real estate securities or real estate investment funds. You can also invest into mutual funds and ETFs. So all and every asset class, which is, even you can invest into, in US they invest into animal husbandry, because animal husbandry is also traded a large extent, right? So you can invest into any and every asset class which is available, and that's the best thing about a PMS. It is the client who should be okay with it. If the client is fine, you can invest everywhere wherever there is regulation and whatever can be allowed. There is very high risk management, because when I have to manage particular fund in a private and a customized approach, just imagine the client or the investor is in direct relation to me, and he is in direct communication to me on every week or every month or every day. So I have to ensure high risk management and ensure that the risk is very low, because in a mutual fund or any other investment, if I make a loss or anything happens, I am not directly answerable to each and every investor, because there is a high number of investors there. Here there are low level of investors, and the investor would call me that, boss, see, today I have a hit of 10% on my portfolio, what are you doing? So there is a high level of risk management which they ensure. there is very strong transparency which has been ensured in dealing with PMS, because transparency is the key. Every stock which I buy or sell or any change in the portfolio, the stocks are to be holded in the demat of the investor himself. So the investor is aware on day-to-day basis that what the portfolio manager is doing. What is he buying, what is he selling, what level is he buying, what level is he selling, and also the investment scenario, the pitch. There is a thought behind buying a particular product. Like I would say I would buy a pharma product currently because it has the potential to do well in the future, or let's assume there is a company or Zydus is working on a vaccine on COVID-19, so I'm sure in a longer term it will do well, so I may invest more into Zydus, and then my client, I have to disclose it to my client why I have invested, and so on. So there is good transparency. There is a profit sharing. So a lot of portfolio managers work on a profit sharing model. So the fees they charge a fixed amount of management fees, and then they charge 20% from 15% to 20% of the profits which they help their clients make. So to understand it in a simple manner, a portfolio manager, how does he charge is, I will charge 2 to 5% as fixed flat fees. So if you are investing 100 rupees with me, 5 rupees would my flat management fees which I'll be charging every year. Apart from that, if I have given you a return of 50%, okay, if I have given you a return of 50%, I will charge 20% of your profits as my profit sharing. So in 100 rupees, if I have given you a return of 150 rupees, so of 20% of 50 rupees, which is 10 rupees, plus 5 rupees as management fees, 15 rupees would be my share of the entire year, and you will get 35 rupees above your 100 rupees as your return. What happens because of profit sharing is, because of profit sharing, the portfolio manager himself remains involved into the entire activity, and he always remains cautious, because he also knows that if he wants to make more money, he has to ensure the client gets more profits. And a lot of foreign investors can also invest easily in Indian markets and get the exposure of Indian markets by investing in PMS. A lot of companies in India are going abroad and getting foreign investors to invest in India with products like India Value Fund, India Opportunity Fund, because we all know India has a larger potential. So these are briefly the various benefits of PMS. The challenges or disadvantages are the fees are very high. We were looking at the fees a mutual fund or a ETF has, or any other investing in stock market has. Here the management fees are on the higher side, from 2% to 5%, plus you also have to pay the charges of buying and selling and overall things. So the cost is on the higher side, but yes, the returns at times come out to be better. Not access to large retail funds. In India we have large retail funds like mutual funds. We were just looking at mutual funds having an AUM of 10 lakh crores is what the AUM of mutual funds is, and PMS is like hardly 1 lakh crores. So because of the ticket size of 25 lakh, it cannot have an access to large retail funds in the country. Mutual funds are their biggest competitors, because at times investor would prefer to invest into 10 mutual funds rather than 2.5 lakhs in mutual fund schemes into 10 mutual fund schemes, because it gives him broader diversification, lesser risk. So they are their biggest competitors. Profit sharing is add to the higher charges. So as I said, if somebody is investing 100 and he just gets 35 rupees as profit out of his 50. So if you look at the expenses related to the investment, it is 15% net, even if we add the profit sharing. So that expense ratio plus the profit sharing is on the higher side. Because it is investing in the open market, and the PMS has limited funds of the investor, and if the investment strategy goes wrong, there is a very high market risk. Market risk is if the markets crash, or if the markets do not do well because of negative news or something like that, then there is a huge risk of PMS giving negative returns. And then there is a liquidity risk, because if your portfolio is already 10, 20, 30% down, you cannot even get the entire money which you invested. So it's not easy to come out of a portfolio, because the portfolio has some strategy and it has some time related to the strategy. So these are some basic challenges which I feel for the growth of PMS in India. Now the most important thing is, how should one select a PMS to invest? So as I said, India has around 110, 120 PMS schemes, which are schemes means the schemes which are registered with SEBI. There are a lot of which are open to a lot of funds with minimum ticket size of 25, and there are a lot of individual portfolio managers who manage on their own and they have not a predefined scheme. Most important is the performance or the track record of the fund or the portfolio management scheme. What is the return they have given? You should always check the CAGR, which is compounded average growth rate of 1 year, 3 years and 5 years. And if it is more than 5 years, then just go for 10 years and find the better CAGR over the number of years is always good, because over a period of 10 years or 5 years or 6 years, market would have seen one negative cycle and one positive cycle. So how the fund have managed itself in tough times is what you need to understand from learning the track record. Second, you need to understand, and the very important thing is understanding the profile of the portfolio manager. So the portfolio manager's profile is the key in a PMS, because he is directly going to be involved in managing your funds. So you need to understand his education, his background, number of years of experience, funds he has managed, what are the returns he has clocked in the past, and couple of other things about the portfolio manager. Then is the charges and the commission. So I was just talking on this aspect, that the charges and the commissions are on the higher side to a certain PMS. A certain PMS is also charged 6%, 7%, 5% as their management fees, which is very high. So which needs to be very specifically understood before you invest, because the charges and the commission are actually a direct hit on your investment, right? Investment strategy, which is the key, which is investment strategy and philosophy. On what basis or on what thought process is the stock selection or the portfolio selection happening, or the stocks in the portfolio selection on what investment strategy? We will talk on this in detail in the next slides. Initial fees, a lot of companies are also charging an initial flat fee of 1% or 2%. So that is also something which you need to be specific before investing. Transparency and disclosure. So you need to see at how transparent, or what are the clauses of transparency and disclosure policy of the fund. So there are also PMS schemes, portfolio management schemes running like mutual fund schemes, but in that you have a minimum investment of 25 lakh, and they run like mutual funds, like a predefined portfolio, structured portfolio, like the benchmarking returns, and it's structured and it has a lot of funds. So it may collect 100 crores from various investors and it would invest in a predefined theme. So you need to check that what is the disclosure and transparency in that case, at what periodical times are they disclosing on their portfolio. So that is what you have to be very specific on. And the most important thing is investor support, that do they have a direct line for investor support whenever you want to have an access, are they available or not? Because as a investor in portfolio management management services, the amount of funds which I have invested is not small amount, it is a higher amount, And so it's always essential for me to have the portfolio manager a call away. So whenever I need anything, I should have the portfolio manager on the call away, straight away. So these are the things which you have to always and always have into consideration before investing into or selecting a PMS. Now comes the most important aspect, which is investment strategy. So every company or every organization or every leader or every person or even you individual have your own philosophy or have your own thought process of working, or you have your own working style, to be specific and more operational. Everybody has their own working style. If we talk of individuals, somebody love to work at late at night, somebody loves to work or early morning, somebody would love to talk over the phone and solve problems, somebody would love to write an email and solve problems. Everybody have a different working style, and everybody have their own thought processes based on their own philosophy. So a portfolio manager is the most important person, and it is his investment strategy and investment philosophy which decides whether a PMS is going to do well or not going to do well. So largely, the theme or investment strategies can be small caps, large cap, mid cap, multi cap, small cap, so many things. But if you want to break it up, there are two major approaches which they follow: top down and bottom up. So when we talk of PMS, there are two things, or even mutual funds. At times what happens is a fund manager would first study, decide an ideal portfolio, that if I invest into this manner, I may come with an indicative return of 20% or 22%. And then based on that portfolio, he would go out and get investors to invest into that money. So he will say, I need 1000 crores and I need to invest 1000 crores in this ideal portfolio or this specific portfolio, and I can get an return of a certain amount. So he will first decide a portfolio, then go out and get the funds and then invest them. And then is another strategy wherein I'll go out and get the funds. I'll come to know that I have raised 400 crores from public. Now I need to identify where I need to invest. So these are two kind of strategies which most of the companies follow. And then comes the philosophy. There are a lot of fund managers who love banking. There are a lot of managers who love the retail thing. There are a lot of things who love the consumption thing. There are a lot of managers who love the infrastructure thing. So this is individual, and we've seen a lot of fund managers who in the past couple of years have actually identified gem stocks and which has given and which has become multi-baggers. So we know a lot of fund managers. Few fund managers identified Titan very early, and then we know what happened to Titan. Few fund managers identified Future Group very early. Few identified iShares very early. Few identified Wipro very early. So it's all of them. It depends on the portfolio manager what he is doing, and you need a lot of reading to get that philosophy. Okay, so you need to have a strong reading on economy, strong reading and data on the industry, strong factors on the customers, what is happening around. And if you can have all these things, you can be and have the right strategy in place. So let's come to it. Most of the people or portfolio managers either follow a top-down approach in stock selection. Okay, so once I have a philosophy or I have to decide on something, I would either follow a top-down approach or I may follow a bottom-up approach. And when I have to manage the portfolio, first thing is to build the portfolio. Okay, so the process happens is I have to build the portfolio. So I collect the money, then I decide on the philosophy or I decide on the broader objective of the client, what percentage return they are looking for. Then I would start, based on my investment strategy, start looking for stocks in which, or the asset classes in which I can invest. Okay, I would identify the asset classes in I would invest. After identifying the asset classes where I can invest, I would then decide the weightage. Weightage is the proportion in which I will be investing in various asset classes, and then I would start investing and build my portfolio. So when I invest in all of them, that is considered to be building my portfolio, and then this portfolio would give my indicative return. And the way this portfolio can be managed are two ways. There is an active way of managing the portfolio, and there is a passive way of portfolio management. So we would first discuss on the part of identifying the asset classes and identifying the securities in which a portfolio manager is investing. So there are two major approaches which they follow. One is the top down approach, and another is a bottom up approach. So when we talk of bottom up, it's first we'll discuss on top down, and the exact reverse of this is bottom up. So now let's say, for instance, I have to, when we say top down, we first study on the global economy. Okay, so my objective of doing this is to identify the securities or the asset classes for investment of my client and build a portfolio. Okay, so I am doing this process with the objective of building a portfolio for my client, and this is the process I need to follow. So the first thing I do is I would look into, so let's assume that I have just raised 100 crores and I need to build a portfolio in the current scenario, so that I end up giving a positive return to my clients in 1 year, 3 years and 5 years. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is, if I look at the current global economic scenario, we all know that the current economic scenario is not that great. We are facing a pandemic, it's called COVID-19. Most of the countries of the world are under lockdown. A lot of economic activity is slow, and I'm viewing that the entire global GDP is going to come down, and because of which every country is impacted big time. Globally, aviation, hospitality, tourism, metal, crude, apparels, textile is badly hit. Okay, these are the things which are badly hit. Globally, technology, pharmaceutical, healthcare, learning, education is picking up in the current scenario. This is my economic assessment globally. Based on this economic assessment, I will filter. Okay, so what I've done is I filtered and I've identified areas which are good, areas which are bad. Now I come to the local economy, which is my national issue. What is happening? Because I have to invest in India. So why I went for a global thing is because in the today's environment, the world is connected. Okay, the entire world is connected, and we cannot dissect the world from what is happening in India and vice versa. So if I look at the local economy in India, we have a lockdown since 40 days. The economy is not going to do well. IMF and other numbers are stating that my economy is going to grow by around 2% in FY 2021, but it's going to grow by around 7.4% in 21-22 FY. So there are a lot of green shoots available. Again, if I look into India, my aviation is badly hurt. My power is hit because of the lockdown. The consumption of power is less. Telecom is okay. Textile is hit. The tourism is hit. Hospitality is hit. But yes, technology is doing well. Education is like neutral. I have logistics which is like neutral. FMCG is still neutral and not much impact. Healthcare is going to do well, very nicely. Pharmaceutical is on the boom because the entire world needs medicines and India has the capacity to mass produce medicines. So in the local economy, I have identified and looked at things that I have identified certain sectors like healthcare, technology, logistics and FMCG. These are something which are or could do well, and even power. to a certain extent, or shipping, because we'll be putting across a lot of exports to the world. Okay, so this is something which I've identified as sectors which can do well. Now let's take for instance in the healthcare sector, I whatever I need is, I need what is the need of the hour. So I'll again go down from global, I went to local, from local I identified the sectors, from sectors I'm trying to identify the industries. So we know that in healthcare we need the private protection units, we need the thermal scanners and things, we need the masks, we need the gloves, we need the shoes, we need hospital beds, we need oxygen units, we need ventilators. So these are various industries which I would identify within the sector. Okay, in pharmaceuticals, if I say pharmaceuticals, I would need vaccines, I would need oral drugs, I would need sanitizers to a large extent, I would need antibiotics, I would need vitamin tablets. So that is what I will drop down to the industry. Post the sector, I have identified the industry. After identifying the industry, my job is to identify the stocks or the companies, specific business or companies which are into this business. So I will start identifying and looking for it. So let's say for instance, let's come down to pharma. So I'll see which companies are working on research on the COVID-19 vaccine. So I'll come to 4 companies. Zydus is doing that, or Dishman is doing that, or the Serum Institute is doing that. So I will identify 3 companies in that. I would also identify that which companies have US FDA approved plants, because if anywhere a vaccine or any drug is discovered in the world, if even if it is discovered in Switzerland or UK, it will have to be manufactured in India, because India has the largest pharmaceutical manufacturing capacity. So I need to identify now the specific companies or the stocks which has US FDA approval, because unless a plant is US FDA approved or it meets the global standards, that pharma company will not be able to produce that medicines. So then I would identify the various stocks, I would identify 5, 7, 10 stocks. Then I would compare those stocks in terms of their revenue, in terms of their debt to equity ratio, in terms of their interest coverage ratio, in terms of their PE ratios, in terms of their market capitalization, and all the other aspects we need to identify a particular stock. And then I would decide to invest into that stock for my portfolio. And then there are various other methods of building a portfolio. So I will identify multiple stocks like this. By going a top bottom approach, I will start identifying multiple stocks, and then based on the beta of the stocks or the various risk of the stock related, I will decide on the weightage on each stock which I want to have in my portfolio. So this is a top down approach which is largely being followed, because if we follow this, we always, when we know the world and then we come to a particular stock, we are always updated about the ramification which can happen to a particular company or stock. And so this approach is more preferred. But there can be other approach wherein you always know that certain company is doing well. So let's say for instance, I have recently come to know that Tata Mahindra is manufacturing ventilators for the government of India, and it has also started to export, so in their automobile plants. So I know specific business or specific stock in which I need to invest. So in that case, I will do a reverse process, wherein I will first study Mahindra, compare it vis-a-vis to other things. I will see what is the ventilator industry, who are the other competitors in manufacturing ventilators, what is the market cap, market share of ventilators, what is the total demand of ventilators which can come, what is the potential or the total capacity of Mahindra, how much revenue it can generate, is it a proper place to be. Then go into the healthcare sector, see the growth and the government spending in that sector, then compare it in the local economy, and then go it in the local the global thing. So this way we follow as a top down or a bottom down approach to identify stocks to invest in the portfolio. There are many other methods, but these are two broadly popular methods in identifying. You know, some would go with cyclical stocks, some would go with thematic stocks, some would go with infrastructure stocks, some may go with FMCG stocks, some may go with consumption stocks. It depends on each portfolio manager, but broadly speaking, these are two approaches which are very famous in identifying a particular stock which needs to be a part of your portfolio. And before identifying, you know, the portfolio managers, they do a three, after they identify a particular stock, they do a very good 360-degree perspective of that particular company or a stock. So they do an interaction with the leadership team. So when we talk of a portfolio management service, they have a large amount of money to be invested. So let's say, for instance, I am going to invest 4 or 5 crores into a company which is manufacturing PPE, which is the PPE kits. Then I would first talk to the management or the leadership team, maybe the relationship officer or the CFO or the CEO or the COO, and try to understand their business thoughts, their business model, and get clarity on that. I would also have interaction with few of the customers or the channel partners, that, you know, how is the company in terms of payment, what is the quality of product, you know, because what the company shows us and what is the real situation, we need to be very much thorough of, right? So let's say, for instance, there are many companies who have built a good brand image on online or on TV. They are very good in terms of image, but you come to know the actual results download. Now let's say, for instance, a toothpaste company is claiming on TV that they are the number one selling toothpaste in India, okay, or anything like that. So what I'll do is, if I want to invest into that company, I'll first talk to their management. They will tell us that, you know, this is what we are doing. Then what I'll do is I'll talk to their distributors or their channel partners and come to know that, you know, like, what is the number of sales which is happening, is the sale which has been reported by the company, is it actually happening, or they are just playing with the numbers. I will also have interaction with the competitors in understanding that, you know, what is the competition, how competitors view the company as a challenge, what is the growth of the industry. Also have an interaction with the industry consultants or the people who are good in the industry, to get a sense, you know, that whether this company is good or not, with their ex employees, current employees, sales side analysis. We'll also have a lot of field visits, like going to their factory, visiting their factory, understanding the process, looking at the things. So these are the things which, you know, a portfolio manager takes into consideration. So it's not an easy job. It's only after identifying a stock, then also they have to do this on a continuous basis. So let's say, for instance, you know, I have to invest into a particular ice cream company. Then I know I have to go to their plant, see the ingredients they are using, talk to their suppliers, that, you know, what is the are they really buying this product, competitors, point of sale, talk to customers about the quality of the ice cream, and a lot of other things. So this is what you have to do. You know, once you decide a stock, you would only take into a portfolio after taking everything into consideration. As I said, portfolio management is a tough job, and if you make a wrong decision, or your wrong foot can have a big impact on the money of your client. Another important aspect was, once you have a ready portfolio, then you have to, you know, the managing the portfolio, there are two strategies. One is active managed portfolio management and passive. Now what does active portfolio management mean? Means that, you know, once you have a portfolio in place, you actively keep changing your portfolio. Actively means maybe regularly changing the portfolios. You know, like, let's say, for instance, today you came to know that Zydus is working on the vaccine for COVID-19. So you invested in Zydus, you invested around 30% of the total funds of the scheme into Zydus. Tomorrow you come to know that another competitor company is also working on that. So you suddenly move 50% of funds from Zydus to that company. After a certain period of time, you again come to there's another company, so you again move the funds. So you actively switching the funds, and that active switching of funds is not that great. It is good in a volatile market. So you can do active investing in a volatile market when markets are going up and down. So in the current scenario, when the markets go up by 10-15% and come down by 5% and then again go up by 10-15%, you can always do an active churning of your portfolio and in such times, because that would yield you some returns. Else, in a stable market or in a growing market, if you actively keep switching your portfolio, then you have a large cost to incur, because there is a cost of buying and selling, there is a opportunity cost which is gone, and there is a portfolio risk which comes. So I am sure you would study in SAPM, security analysis and portfolio management subject. You will study about the portfolio risk. Okay, so there is a process of finding the portfolio risk. So very large actively it impacts. Passively is and you identified where to invest, and you should invest and just stick to it. Okay, it's like Motilal Oswal says that sit tight and return would be high. So you invest, sit tight for a period of time, and your return would go up, because longer run it's benefit. It passive also has a lot of disadvantages, because at times passive fund managers, they miss on to take the advantage of the current moving market. Okay, so that's a disadvantage. But largely active and passive means, active means very on a regular short term basis, you keep on changing the portfolio share securities. Passively is you don't do it on a regular basis. So this is taken from pmsbazaar.com. So pmsbazaar.com is the only and the best curated website which sells various PMS in India, and it has a listing of around 115 schemes on its website. So there are very high, but the one which are listed on them are around 115. And we can see I've taken the top 8 which they have stated, which has a return which is again CAGR. So you can know the strategy here which we were talking. Special situations. Okay, so let's say for instance we are currently into a special situation like COVID-19. So based on this theme, somebody would have come up with a thing, and they would invest in multi-cap, which is it would include large, small and mid-cap. IOP strategies, India Opportunity Fund. So India, it is focused on the various stocks which are there because of the growing economic scenario in India and Indian opportunities. It would have small and mid cap. Centrum is on micro. It's like smaller companies which have the potential to grow well in the near future, which is small cap. Nippon on emerging India, emerging giants. Self is based on their own thing. Good to great is some companies which are already good and now they are going to be great. So it's like there is a company called Mahindra Logistics, okay, which is a kind of good to great story. So this is the philosophy which is of the portfolio manager, and this philosophy is based on which they are getting funds from their investors. So if you see, this is the return. Even the markets have been very choppy in the last quarter. Still, if you can see, the returns have been stable, right? Though the markets have revived, but yes, even markets being very choppy, going down by around 40%, it has again come up by around 20-22%. But even in the choppy markets, you can see the returns. These returns are by 31st of March. If you want more details, I would suggest go on PMS Bazaar and you will find the fact sheet of all the 115 schemes, and it will be really interesting to study. Right, so this is the various situation and the investment strategy, and these are the companies which are doing it. You can see a lot of mutual fund companies are also selling that. Now let us I give you an example on one of the scheme which is Motilal Oswal's India Opportunity Portfolio. Okay, so you can see what is their strategy. Their strategy is small and mid cap in emerging businesses which have growth potential with economic mode. So I'll just give you an example of what it says. It is into banks, capital markets, consumer oriented businesses, pharma and healthcare. Now let's say for instance we know that in the near future hygiene is going to be a very important aspect, right? So if you look into the pharma or healthcare, there are so many small companies. So let's say the one small companies who are manufacturing sanitizers till and before the 1st of March. Okay, some company was manufacturing sanitizer before March. The importance of that company after COVID-19 is going to be tremendous. So I would identify companies who have the potential to grow with the economic growth. If we see the government to be spending around 1 lakh crores on infrastructure, so government is going to build a lot of roads, bridges, hospitals, schools, houses. So I will identify smaller companies who have the potential to supply all these things. So maybe steel or cement or bricks or color or maybe for infrastructure, furniture, a lot of other things. So this is what they are talking of, the India potential. So with the growth, Indian economic growth, so India, if you grow the GDP of India growing higher side, what will contribute? Okay, the highest contributors are expected to be capital markets, banks, consumer oriented business and pharma and healthcare. This is what has been expected. It will have a portfolio of 21 stocks only. Okay, so it's really specific. They are only going to invest in 21 stocks and their benchmark would be Nifty small cap. So out of the 100 small cap stocks, they would be investing in 21 stocks. So they've stated that they have a track record of 16 years. Okay, they have investment, they have turnover 42 investors and 12,000 crores of assets under management. Now this is some of the examples which they have given, that there are in the cluster between 2000 to 2005 companies in the small cap which gave a return of 158%. So mega return, mid returns and very average returns out of the total stocks. Okay, they have stated total stocks here. So in between 2000 to 2005 market return had been 5% average, but there was one company which gave 158% return, 17 companies gave 55%, 59 companies gave 21%, 90 companies gave 21, 58, 57 and around more than 1000 companies which gave a return of around 19%. Similarly 2005 to 2010 we can see this ratio, 10 to 15 you can see this ratio, and based on these premises they have decided to have this thing. So investors 5 years in mid cap and higher market of can make very good returns is what they believe in. Mid caps and small caps, alpha is better return than the market. So top rate, then what they are talking is, let's see, this Nifty 50 is already giving good returns in the last 3 years as compared to small cap. But if you look at more of the last from 14 to 19, small cap is in the similar lines and in a certain period of time it had better return than Nifty 50. So this is, see, when I come to when a PMS comes to you to get your money which are hard earned money and you are a high net worth investor, then like they also have to explain and back their investment philosophy with a lot of numbers. So this is what they're doing there, this is what they're explaining, that one is the economic scenario and this is with the numbers and realistic examples which they are trying to explain us. What they are also telling is that sharp declines followed by sharp revival. So they are telling that here if the market had gone down by 59%, it came back and gave a return of 99%. Here when it came down by 31%, it gave a return of 39%. Here when it came down by 5%, it gave a return of 56%. In 18-19, it has gone down by around 15% and 4%. So here looking at the trend, we see a huge rise and a huge impact coming in. The similar thing is with the small cap 100. This is for mid cap 100. This for small cap 100, 71% minus, 107% positive, 34, 35. So it has almost doubled. Here we see a huge potential again in the next 3 years, and that is why I am urging all of you to invest into this, is what they are talking. Now again, this shows the ratio of the tops and bottoms, the points. So what they say is buy right and sit tight is what they say. This is their wealth creators buy and hold strategy. So these are examples of the things which they identified. So they're saying GSK, they purchased in Jan 18, market cap was this, so it was like 1.5 times and CAGR of 22%. This gave a return of 14%. So this is what they've said. More than 50 stocks, if they hold it for more than 3 years, then the return is on the higher side. So this is again some success stories which they are talking of. Bajaj Finserv, when they identified what was it, and it gave an absolute growth of 45.6% and a CAGR of 50%. Ipca Lab again 40%. So this is the strategy which they are stating. Now they are explaining about their portfolio allocation. I can see securities, Alkem Lab. We all know that testing in the coming years, because we are going to be very health conscious, most of you will do an annual health test for sure, and any healthcare or any doctor you go, the first thing he will write is do a test. So if you look into their portfolio, they have Alkem Lab as well as they have Dr. Path Lab. They do not have a pharma company, right? They have an exposure in the healthcare, but they do not have a pharma company, which is very interesting. They have into ICICI Securities. The people investing in stock markets are expected to go out. TTK Prestige, with the increase of the income in household, the expenditure on the consumer durables is going to go how. The way we are looking at, the generation today is not going to use that steel utensils. They want high-end good utensils to cook. The banking, DCB is one of the banks going to pick up. Birla Corporation into cement, ITC, Canfin Home, this home loan, and this into ceramics. So this is basically about their stock. They have given their strategy. It shows the average return since their inception, and this is about their fund manager. What is his qualification? What is he be doing? So so friends, this is basically about a PMS, making you understand the strategy which I was talking, and having a clarification. So each of that various PMS schemes which are available in India have their own investment philosophy, which has a story behind each investments and which is backed by strong data. If you talk of the future of PMS in India, I just told you they're planning to raise it to 50 lakhs. So a lot of specialized player would only remain. There are a lot of millionaires which are in India. So if you look at the number of crore-patis, increase of the number of crore-patis in India, it is increasing at a very higher stage. Startups are a good investment opportunity for the PMS, and when PMSs would be investing in startups, because PMS has a lot of funds, the returns would be higher, and so the interest toward PMS may go up. Indian economy is all set to do well. If you look at the IMF data, we would grow at around 7+% in 21-22, which is highest growth rate in the world. And with that, a lot of businesses will grow well, and so a lot of foreign investors are having huge investments in India. Only competition is going to be AIF, which is called Alternative Investment Fund. So AIF are also having a minimum cap of 25 lakh of investment, but they can invest into real estate, they can invest into animal husbandry, they can invest into liquor, art, anything, diamonds. So they are going to be a competition. But yes, hedge funds, AIFs are popular, but in India it will take time. And most of the AMCs have PMS. So AMCs also, when they come to know that an investor has 50 lakh rupees, they would pitch him and they will sell him PMS, because AMC can make more money selling a PMS than selling a mutual fund, because the expense ratio or the amount they earn in a mutual fund is far less than the amount of money they make in a PMS. So friends, I think we have I've been successfully able to make you understand about PMS, their concept, the investment strategy. Because of constraint of time, I have been able to manage as many things as possible and cover as many things as possible, but I am sure this is going to be a good primary thing or a good basic understanding on the concept of PMS. So